When a woman disrespects you, how you respond can either make her respect you more or destroy any chance of her ever taking you seriously again. Most men get this wrong. They either explode in anger, which only makes them look weak and out of control, or they ignore it completely, hoping it will just go away. Both of those reactions kill attraction and lower her respect for you. Welcome back to Man of Value, and let's cut straight to it. Disrespect is one of the biggest turning points in any relationship or interaction with a woman. It might come in the form of sarcasm, dismissive comments, rolling her eyes, testing your patience, or even openly challenging your authority. However it shows up, one thing is certain: if you don't deal with it the right way, it will grow. Disrespect that goes unchecked never stays small. It sets the tone for how she'll treat you moving forward. Now, let's get real. Women test boundaries. Sometimes the disrespect is intentional, sometimes it's subconscious. But make no mistake, she's always watching how you handle it. Do you fold? Do you lash out? Or do you calmly stand your ground like a man who knows his value? That reaction tells her everything about who you are and whether you're worth respecting. This video is about teaching you how to handle disrespect without losing your frame, without looking insecure, and without giving her more power than she deserves. Because the truth is, you don't need to raise your voice or get into a fight to earn respect. Respect is not demanded, it's commanded through how you carry yourself. By the end of this breakdown, you'll know exactly why disrespect happens, what it really means when a woman does it, and the smartest ways to respond so that you keep the upper hand. 1. Why women disrespect men they don't value. When a woman disrespects a man, it usually doesn't come out of nowhere. Disrespect is often a reflection of how she sees you, and more importantly, how she values you. If a woman respects you at your core, she won't cross certain lines. But when she doesn't see you as a man of value, those boundaries disappear. That's when the sharp comments, dismissive attitude, or outright disregard show up. The truth is, women test men constantly, whether consciously or unconsciously. It's in their nature. They push, they poke, and they watch how you respond. If you fold under pressure, if you look desperate to please, or if you accept poor behavior without addressing it, you send one loud and clear message: you're not a man she needs to take seriously. And once she picks up on that, the disrespect becomes a habit. Imagine this. You're out with a woman, and she interrupts you mid-sentence, talks down to you, or even makes a subtle jab at your manhood. If you laugh it off nervously or say nothing, she clocks that reaction. She thinks, this man doesn't even stand up for himself. That moment may feel small, but it sets a pattern. Over time, the little things build up into bigger acts of disrespect. And by then, you've trained her to see you as someone she can walk over. Now here's the key. You don't get disrespected because she's just like that. You get disrespected because in her eyes, you allowed it. A woman respects a man who respects himself. If she senses weakness, inconsistency, or lack of self-respect, she'll treat you accordingly. This is why you must recognize that disrespect is less about her words or actions and more about the dynamic she feels she's in with you. A woman can only treat you at the level you allow. When she sees you as a man who knows his value, who won't tolerate games, and who carries himself with quiet authority, she'll naturally adjust. But when she sees you as a man who bends, tolerates, and fears losing her, the disrespect only grows. That's why the first step isn't about fixing her behavior. It's about checking yourself. How you see yourself, how you carry yourself, and what you allow sets the entire tone for how she will treat you. 2. The biggest mistake men make. When it happens, when a woman disrespects you, most men react in one of two ways, and both usually make the situation worse. On one end, some men explode. They get loud, aggressive, maybe even insulting in return. On the other end, some men shrink back. They stay silent, brush it off, or try to be the bigger person in a way that actually communicates weakness. Both responses send the wrong signal. Let's break this down. When you overreact with anger, you show her that her words or actions have too much power over you. If she can push a button and make you lose control, she instantly knows she has leverage. Women don't respect men. They can emotionally destabilize with a single comment. Anger in this context isn't strength. It's a lack of control. On the flip side, when you ignore disrespect completely without addressing it, you give her silent permission to keep doing it. Many men think staying quiet is mature. But here's the problem. Women read that silence differently. They don't see a calm, strong man. They see a man who lacks the confidence to draw boundaries. And once a woman knows you won't speak up for yourself, she'll keep testing how far she can go. The biggest mistake, then, is failing to set the right tone in that moment. Disrespect is a line in the sand. If you let it slide, you train her to cross it again. If you overreact, you show you're unstable. What you need is balance, a calm, direct response that communicates your standard without begging or fighting. Think of it like this. Disrespect is a test of your frame. If you can't hold your frame, you'll fail the test. Men who fail usually fall into one of those extremes, blowing up or shrinking down. And both responses kill attraction and erode respect. The mistake men often make goes deeper than the reaction itself. It's also about mindset. Too many men operate from fear. Fear of losing her, fear of upsetting her, fear of being alone. That fear makes them tolerate behavior they shouldn't. And the moment a woman senses you're more afraid of losing her than she is of losing you, the dynamic shifts. She feels she has all the power. The fix starts with awareness. You can't control what a woman does, but you can control your response. The mistake isn't that disrespect happens. It's that most men let it define the tone of the relationship by responding poorly. Your job isn't to win in the moment. It's to show, calmly and firmly, that you respect yourself too much to let that behavior stand. 3. Staying calm. The power of controlled reactions. When a woman disrespects you, the first thing that kicks in is emotion. Your pride gets hit, your ego feels attacked, and every instinct pushes you to fire back. But here's the thing. If you lose control of yourself in that moment, you've already lost more than the argument. You've given away your power. Controlled reactions are what separate strong men from weak ones. A man who can stay calm when disrespected shows two things. First, that he values himself enough not to be rattled by nonsense, and second, that he isn't controlled by anyone else's behavior. That calmness is strength, and women feel it immediately. Think about it this way. Disrespect is often thrown at you to provoke a reaction. Sometimes consciously, sometimes subconsciously. She wants to see if you'll crack. If you respond with anger, you've just shown her she can pull your strings. If you respond with nervous laughter or silence, you've shown her she can walk all over you. But if you respond calmly, clearly, and with authority, you make it known that you can't be shaken. Controlled reactions don't mean you pretend nothing happened. It's not about swallowing your words or faking a smile. It's about acknowledging the behavior without losing composure. A simple, steady tone and direct words carry more weight than any shouting match ever could. Something as clear as, "I don't tolerate being spoken to like that," said calmly, has far more impact than raising your voice or storming off. Men often underestimate how powerful restraint really is. Women test men to see if they're steady under pressure. When you keep your cool, you show her that her emotional spikes don't dictate your state of mind. That's attractive, because stability is rare. Most men either fold or explode. Few stay grounded. The power of controlled reactions also comes from consistency. If you stay calm once, but then lose it the next time, you send mixed signals. But if you build the habit of measured responses, people, women included, begin to understand that your respect for yourself is non-negotiable. Another benefit of calmness is that it puts the spotlight back on her behavior. If you don't add fuel to the fire with yelling or weakness, she has no way to deflect or justify it. She has to face her own actions. Your calmness holds up a mirror. At the core, staying calm is about discipline. It's about choosing not to let disrespect control your emotions. And that discipline is what keeps you in control of the interaction, the relationship, and most importantly, yourself. 4. How to check her without losing your frame. Checking a woman when she disrespects you isn't about being harsh, rude, or dominating. It's about setting a clear standard while staying in control of yourself. This is where most men either go too soft or too aggressive, and both cost them respect. The goal isn't to win an argument. The goal is to send a message. I respect myself, and I expect you to as well. So how do you do that? It starts with clarity. A lot of men dance around the issue, dropping hints or making sarcastic comments instead of being direct. But sarcasm doesn't fix disrespect. It only creates more tension. A direct, calm statement works best. Something simple like, I don't appreciate that, or that's not how you talk to me, is enough. Short, clear, and firm. Next, you need consistency. If you call out disrespect one day but let it slide the next, you're teaching her that your boundaries depend on your mood. That inconsistency weakens your position. Checking her works only if she knows you mean it every time. Another key is tone. If your tone sounds needy, defensive, or angry, you've already lost your frame. Your words may be right, but the delivery kills it. A steady, calm tone communicates strength. You don't need to shout to be taken seriously. In fact, shouting usually shows you're losing control. You also need to be prepared for pushback. Sometimes when you call out disrespect, a woman may test you further. She might laugh it off, dismiss it, or even double down. This is where most men cave. They think, if I keep pushing, she'll leave. But understand this, if you can't hold the line, she'll never truly respect you. Women might not always admit it, but deep down, they want to know where the line is and if you'll enforce it. The best way to hold frame is to pair words with action. If she keeps disrespecting you after you've checked her, you can't just talk. You have to show consequences. That could mean disengaging from the conversation, leaving the room, or, if it's a pattern, walking away from the relationship altogether. Words without action are empty. Checking her is not about punishing, it's about communicating your value. You're telling her without drama that your self-respect comes first. And here's the surprising part. When done correctly, many women actually respect you more after you set the boundary. They may not like it in the moment, but deep down, they feel safer with a man who won't allow himself to be disrespected. At the end of the day, the way you check a woman isn't about her, it's about you. It reflects how much you value yourself and whether you're willing to enforce your standards. Do it calmly, directly, and consistently, and you'll never lose your frame. 5. When to walk away and why it works. Sometimes the strongest move you can make when a woman disrespects you is to walk away. Not in anger, not in silence forever, but with clarity and finality that communicates one thing. You will not stay where you are not valued. Most men struggle with this because they confuse walking away with weakness. But in reality, it's one of the most powerful tools you have. Let's break this down. Walking away isn't about punishment. It's about self-respect. If you've already checked her calmly, if you've already made your standards clear, and she continues to cross the line, then staying only teaches her that your words mean nothing. At that point, the only real language left is action, and nothing speaks louder than removing your presence. Picture this. A man is with a woman who keeps belittling him in front of her friends. He pulls her aside and says calmly, "I don't tolerate that." She laughs it off and keeps doing it. The next time it happens, instead of getting into an argument, he simply leaves. He doesn't slam doors, doesn't raise his voice, doesn't beg her to stop. He just removes himself from the situation. That action speaks volumes. It tells her, "I take myself seriously. If you can't, then I won't stay here." Why does walking away work? Because it flips the dynamic. Instead of her having the power to push you around, you show that you have the power to step out at any time. Women may test boundaries, but they deeply respect men who enforce them without hesitation. Walking away shows you don't cling out of fear of losing her. You're grounded enough to leave what doesn't serve you. Of course, there's a difference between walking away as a tactic and walking away as a lifestyle. Some men use it manipulatively, constantly threatening to leave just to get a reaction. That doesn't build respect, it builds resentment. But when walking away is a final step after you've already addressed the issue, it sends a message that can't be ignored. And here's the key. You can't fake it. If you walk away hoping she'll chase you back, she'll feel that. The power comes from genuinely meaning it. From truly believing that your respect for yourself matters more than keeping someone who keeps disrespecting you. That authenticity is what makes the move effective. In many cases, walking away either forces her to respect you or clears space for someone who will. Either way, you win, because the real loss isn't in leaving, it's in staying where your dignity is constantly chipped away. Walking away works because it's not about her. It's about you proving to yourself that you won't settle for less than respect. And once you set that standard, the quality of your relationships changes forever. 6. Turning disrespect into respect, if she's worth it. Not every situation calls for cutting ties immediately. Sometimes a woman who disrespects you isn't doing it because she's cruel or malicious. It could be immaturity, bad habits, or simply testing boundaries to see what you'll allow. If the disrespect is occasional and not a pattern of toxic behavior, there's room to turn things around. The key is how you handle it. The first step is deciding if she's worth it. This means asking yourself some honest questions. Is she generally supportive outside of those moments? Does she add value to your life? Do you believe the disrespect is coming from poor communication rather than a deep lack of respect? If the answers lean positive, then it's worth giving her the chance to adjust. But if the answer is no, dragging things out only weakens you. When she is worth it, the process starts with clear boundaries. A lot of men assume women just know what respect looks like, but relationships aren't built on assumptions. You have to make it clear what's acceptable and what isn't. The way you set these boundaries matters. Calm, steady, and firm communication always beats yelling or lecturing. The second step is consistency. Women don't respect men who waver. If you check her one day but ignore the same behavior the next, you send mixed signals. Consistency shows her that your standards are real and not up for negotiation depending on your mood. Over time, that steady firmness builds respect. The third step is leading by example. You can't demand respect if you're careless with how you treat her. If you dismiss her feelings, talk down to her, or play games, then checking her for disrespect will ring hollow. Respect is a two-way street. If you want her to treat you with value, you need to hold yourself and her to the same standard. Another piece of this is rewarding positive behavior. A lot of men only speak up when something goes wrong, but they stay silent when things go right. 7. Building a standard she can never cross again. If you want lasting respect in your relationships, you have to build a standard so strong that no woman ever feels comfortable crossing it twice. Disrespect doesn't just happen because of her, it happens because of what you allow. Men who keep facing disrespect usually have one thing in common. They don't set or enforce their standards early on. Let's get clear. Your standard is not about controlling her behavior. It's about controlling what you tolerate. A woman can say or do whatever she wants, but you decide whether or not she gets access to you after that. That mindset changes everything. Instead of trying to fix her, you focus on protecting your self-respect. Now here's where many men fall short. They think having standards is just about speaking up when something feels wrong. But true standards are preset, consistent, and non-negotiable. They aren't things you figure out on the spot. You should already know what lines can't be crossed before you're even in the situation. That way, when disrespect happens, you don't hesitate, you act. Here's some constructive criticism. Too many men wait until they're deep in the relationship to decide what's acceptable. By then, she's already built habits around disrespect, and you're fighting an uphill battle. The time to build standards is now, before the next relationship, or before things go further with the woman you're dealing with today. Building a standard she can never cross again comes down to 3 things. Defining it clearly. You need to know your limits. What behavior is non-negotiable for you? Write it down if you have to. If you don't define it, you can't enforce it. Enforcing it consistently. A standard you enforce sometimes is no standard at all. If you let something slide today, don't expect her to take you seriously tomorrow. Consistency is what builds credibility. Living it yourself. You can't demand respect if you don't respect yourself. That means handling your business, taking care of your life, and not slipping into habits that contradict the standards you set for her. The most powerful part of all this? Once a woman sees that your standards are real and that you never compromise them, she adapts. Women naturally respect men who hold their frame. She may not always like it, but she will respect it. And respect is the foundation of attraction. So here's the challenge. Stop hoping she'll just treat you right. Start building a standard that makes it impossible for her not to. And if she refuses to rise to it, you walk. It's that simple. When you live by your standards, you won't just demand respect, you'll inspire it. And once a woman feels that, she'll never forget it, because she knows she can't play with a man who respects himself too much to ever allow disrespect again. Disrespect is one of those things men can't afford to overlook. It's not just about the words a woman says or the tone she uses. It's about what it represents. If she disrespects you and you let it slide, you're silently teaching her that your self-respect has a price. And once you do that, the dynamic of the relationship changes forever. Here's the controversial part. Most men lose respect not because women are naturally disrespectful, but because men fail to demand respect from the start. Think about that. If you set no boundaries, if you tolerate little digs, insults, or dismissive behavior, then you've essentially given her permission to keep doing it. Respect isn't something you ask for. It's something you command by the way you carry yourself and the standards you live by. The real power comes when you show a woman, calmly and consistently, that you won't stay in a situation where you're disrespected. Whether that means checking her in the moment, enforcing your boundaries, or walking away entirely, the message is the same. I value myself more than I value staying where I'm not valued. That's the kind of strength that women remember, even if they don't admit it. So let me ask you, have you ever been in a situation where you ignored disrespect and it only got worse? Or did you finally stand up for yourself and notice how the energy shifted? Drop your experiences in the comments below. I read them, I respond, and I want to hear your stories. Because at the end of the day, This isn't just about women. It's about men learning to never compromise their own respect again. And once you set that standard, everything about how women treat you changes.